welcome to another edition of the Tie Up. We had some technical difficulties at the beginning of the show, but it's fine. We're past that now. Welcome to the Tie Up, the show where I take you through a personal journey of my independent wrestling career, interviewing guys I worked with along the way. The Tie Up, of course, in part provided by TableOC.com for all your streaming, entertainment, and technology news. Make sure to check out TableOC.com. Coming in with that raid just a moment ago. Tonight's guest started coming to the ring with a basketball name as Clark. He was known as Mr. Personality, and then he went to some punk kid named the Cali Kid and is now really known as the Cali Man. So I ask you, Cali Man, how are you this evening?
I'm doing wonderful as always, Mr. Ty.
All right, so we'll just jump right into it. Let's get started with your childhood. How did you start liking professional wrestling?
Well, at a very young age, I believe it was actually, I was born in 86, but in 91, after watching a little bit of wrestling on TV, we actually went to the Champaign Civic Center up in Champaign, Illinois. And I got to see the Ultimate Warrior and Undertaker in a body bag match. And they want to put either guy over, so they did the kind of screwy finish where Ultimate Warrior shook himself out of the body bag, and it was just a big smooth finish. But I just remember being there and the lights turning out and the whole aura of the Undertaker and things like that just really sucked me in. And then I became a big fan of Hulk Hogan when I started watching on TV, and he kind of put me over the top to where I really wanted to be. So ever since I could remember, I wanted to be somehow involved in wrestling.
And so, that was at what age?
Well, if I was born in 86 and that was 91 for sure, I would say I'm not much of the mathematician, but around 5 years old probably.
All right. So how did that translate? We are still live. All right. I think we're okay now.
All right. Well, when I got into high school, of course, I just thought naturally anybody who wanted to be a pro wrestler would do amateur wrestling.
Okay.
So, of course, my freshman year of high school, and there in Cali, I signed up for wrestling. I was wrestling in the 119 weight class. I've always been a smaller guy, a lengthy guy, but I was taller than most of my opponents. So that helped me out when I learned to use my hips. And, man, that gave me some cardio right off the bat, that's for sure. And I unfortunately couldn't play basketball at the same time. I always loved playing basketball, too.
Is that how is that how Clark was born? Was your love of basketball?
Yeah, I had a bunch of basketballs to choose from, that's for sure. So I picked the Superman one and Clark Kent. What Superman is, all you nerds know. Clark was, of course, Clark Kent, Superman's real name, so I chose that.
So did you train in California?
No, other than amateur wrestling, because I moved out here my junior year
Out
of
here,
high school.
everybody watching doesn't know where out here is.
Out here in the South, where wrestling's huge. Florida, the Panhandle.
What brought you to Florida?
My dad's work. He worked for the federal prisons. In order to get transfer up, of course, you have to transfer where they need you. And Marianna, Florida, is where we transferred to.
Marianna, Florida. So, did you start going to any local wrestling shows in the area then?
That's what got me my start. I seen the Road Dogg advertised in a little town called Alpha, Florida, for a promotion called GAWF. I know you worked for him.
I did.
And that got me hooked up with the guy, Pretty Boy Donnie B. Kind of washed up now, but back then you should have seen him. Let me tell you.
So I know he was, I believe, was his name Skip, the GAWF promoter?
Yeah, I tried to talk to Skip, but he kind of put me down towards Donnie, I guess because Donnie trained all the wrestlers. And Donnie was like, yeah, you give me so much money every weekend. You can come and train all you want and help set up the ring. And that's how I got my start. All
right. So, and then you started wrestling. Was your first match in GAWF or in WIW then?
It was GAWF. I was Mr. Personality.
Who was your opponent?
Well, I take that back. I wasn't quite Mr. Personality yet. I was actually Dr. Feelgood, which was one of Donnie's secondary gimmicks, and I got to wrestle Donnie.
I remember that. Dr. Feelgood. I think I faced off and with Dr. Feelgood for AWF at one point.
Yeah.
So you trained, you went over to WIW. So kind of explain how you came up with the Mr. Personality character.
Well, Donnie was trying to get away to get me on, and I had bad acne, especially in my younger days, and I still got some now, but it's not quite as bad. So Donnie felt the mask was the better route. And he seen me with the basketballs in my car all the time, so he's like, "Hey, you remember that gimmick with Al Snow? Like, let's run that with you. Except for you'll be like a multiple personalities kind of crazy, as opposed to just like talking to the one basketball." And so we just kind of came up with a lot of personalities. So I'd be Mr. Personality, and then it evolved to me like copying other people's gimmicks when I came out. Like if Donnie was dancing at the time with the sex symbols, I would come out and I would make the basketball spin and I would do the hip dance. So, it all worked out pretty good. It was a good comedy gimmick.
Shortly after that, you became, well, let's stay there for a second. So that's kind of where we really met, was in WIW, right? We might have crossed paths in GAWF a little bit. I wrestled over there some, but it wasn't like, a major staple of mine. We crossed paths in WIW, and I was actually booking the cruiserweights at the time. And we actually started fusing when you jumped me. You actually took my manager, and actually we see him on the screen right over here. He was dressed as Santa, and you paid him off with a check. How much was that check for, first of all?
Knowing how much I was making back then, probably $100,000, $200,000.
Okay, so $100,000, $200,000. You got Ivan in your corner. And so that's when the cult of personality started. And then you stole my championship away from me as well. So
yeah. Well, I was champion back then, champion now, and not much has changed.
Oh, come on, man.
I don't talk as much as I used to.
So how did Cali Man become a thing then? From Mr. Personality or the Cali Kid?
Well, actually,
from Marianna, Florida.
I'm from California. It's legit. I spent 14 years of my life out in California, which was back when I moved here. That was a majority. So I don't know. I didn't want to be a joke anymore. I mean, I liked doing the comedy gimmick. It was easy to get over. But I seen guys like Scotty Ray's and you and these guys who could work these matches, and I was kind of like, I'm never going to be able to work matches like that if I'm this joke character,
okay.
With the false and like the wowing the crowd with what you're doing rather than, and I've never lost the entertainment factor of it. But at the same time, I wanted to be taken at least a little like more seriously as a character.
Sure.
And I never really wanted to be Mr. Personality at first. I always, California Kid is who I was in the backyard. But Donnie and the powers that be, when I first started, did not see that as a workable gimmick. And it wasn't until a show in Marianna where I used to book the bowling alley, if you remember right.
I do. I was on a few of those shows.
I got a few of the old posters in my room back there. But I remember that I got to wrestle with coaches because I was booking it as the California Kid. And once Donnie and all them seen my fire up and how much more I was into that character, they all decided like, oh, yeah, that's the character we need. Not Mr. Personality, pretty much, and that's in it all. I started unmasking at every promotion I was in and became the California Kid.
So let's back up a step. So let's talk about training. What do you think the hardest part about training was for you?
The realization of how much it was really going to hurt to be a wrestler. I guess I was, hoping for like, I know, it looks like it hurts, but how do they keep doing it and do all that stuff? But I quickly realized how hard actually, and that was the old wooden, GAWF ring with like hard ropes, hard wood, barely any carpet padding, throw it together so we could have a show type ring. And man, that thing was hard. And like, I showed up with 5 guys going to train and only me and Dynamite Doug stuck it out. That's how, I had to turn tough real quick.
Speaking of Dynamite Doug, it's been a while. I know you guys feuded for a while. You guys were buddies for a while. Do you still talk to Dynamite Doug at all?
Not as much as I'd like. We talk over, of course, we keep on Facebook, but he's moved down south and had a family, and he's not in the business so much anymore.
All right. So and what's his story? Why did he quit the business? I mean, he took a lot of crap from a lot of people. Yeah, I
think that kind of, that really, Doug was for being as tough as he was, like physically tough. He was always a little bit emotionally sensitive, but I mean, he was always my best friend or one of my best friends, right hand man, especially in those early years. And like me and him wrestled so much in the backyard that we had such chemistry in the ring that we could go out there and like put on good matches with each other. And but I just think he, as always, there's a test. There comes a time where your passion gets tested. And I think that he decided to walk away. But I know every now and then I still get that message like, hey, the next time I come up there, I want to wrestle. So I'm sure it's still there for him a little bit.
So
you never lose the itch.
Right. I mean, it depends on if it's truly in your blood or not, right? Like, I haven't wrestled in 5 years, and I'm just like, man, I would love to get into a ring today. So what was your favorite moment of Mr. Personality then?
Ooh, I think when I actually think taking the Cruiserweight title and everything down there in WIW when I turned into Dark Personality, I mean, that was probably, the peak moment for sure.
And as
because everything else was pretty much.
As Mr. Personality, who was your favorite opponent?
Woo! I wrestled a lot of good guys as Mr. Personality. But probably back then it would probably be Donnie, just because I worked with him so much that I knew I could always go out there and have a good match with him.
I just kicked you in the face, and now I'm climbing to the top rope for a frog splash. Yep, nailed it.
That was Dark Personality there for sure.
Yep. And that was the end of that tag match. That match was actually you and Doug versus me and Joe Milo.
Oh boy, we probably got our ass kicked.
I mean, I was in the ring.
Joe Milo was one. Joe Milo was one tough, ugly dude. That's for sure.
And then here comes Cali Kid out.
And my bodyguard Elijah.
Yep.
So I always wanted to be like the big heater with the big heater in my background for me, so I wouldn't have to worry about it.
Well, that's literally the reason that Ivan joined me in WIW, and then I turned face, and it just made sense for him to go over to you, because I believe Elijah. Yep. Oh, here comes Scotty Ray's. Cali Kid versus Scotty Ray's was always. Oh, look at it. There's this guy Chris Tighe t-shirt in the background. Scotty Ray's was always an amazing opponent for anybody he wrestled. Just word association with Scotty. Like, what's the first things? Oh, and here I come too.
Yep, the clap gimmick. I remember this with Billy Idol.
Billy Idol, that's right.
It got over huge in Panama City, man.
It did.
Scotty Ray's.
I remember this match. This was the three-way.
Yep.
I remember actually having this match.
Yeah, this is a great match. Look at I'm so young. It's scary.
So you soon started branching out. So you started with GAWF and WIW, and that's where you were trained. So it usually takes a while before you can start wrestling in other promotions. But you did say you started booking the bowling alley in Mariana. You started going over to HPW. So talk about some of those other promotions that you wrestled for as a young Cali Kid.
I never wrestled for HPW. When I got there, by the time I got there, it was CSW. So
okay. It was already Culture Shock Wrestling at that point.
Right in the nose. I mean, right when it started Culture Shock, I was kind of there. Like, I was one of the new guys they brought in that wasn't an HPW guy. And I only got there once again because Donnie brought me over there so I could work Donnie. Of course, James Rimmer, your first guest, I believe.
Yep.
He liked me, obviously, because the second show, even as Mr. Personality, I was the United States champion. And I later learned that they do that. They put belts on guys so they kind of feel more responsible to show up and keep them around and see what they got kind of deal. So James gave me the old trial like that. But to win a championship like that back in my younger days, it was just kind of mind-blowing. Second show in, it's like, oh, maybe this guy actually sees something in me.
And that was as Mr. Personality?
Yeah, like a joke gimmick. So I was like, oh, cool. And then after I turned into the Cali Kid over at CSW, the next month I won the heavyweight championship.
So that was a month later.
A month after I unmasked as the Cali Kid, I was so over as a heel that I beat up BTY Colby Godwin, chipped his tooth, and took his title.
He talked about that chipping his tooth last week, actually. So how did you unmask in CSW then?
I was actually part of a tag team called Pure Personality with Pure Doug Pitt, very talented young man.
Big fan
And
of Doug Pitt.
I was yeah, been lucky to team with him. And him and Colby were already kind of in this feud for the heavyweight championship. So I was out there, supporting Doug Pitt as Mr. Personality. And then at one point during the match, when the ref took a bump or something crazy CSW bookings that happened all the time, I got into the ring like I was, of course, going to help Pure Doug Pitt, but then I whacked him with my super kick, took off the mask, took off the Superman pants to reveal my purple and silver pajama type pants that I liked back then.
Which you're wearing right over here right now, actually.
Thought the time pants.
These were the silver ones. I think you had purple ones too, right?
So, yeah, I had a few different silky, kind of weird-looking MC Hammer pants that I wrestled around in a little bit there. But I turned on Doug Pitt, and then they made it a triple threat match for the next month, and I got whipped by both of them, but left the match, and then came back at the end and got a sneaky roll-up to win the championship.
So how was it for you at a young age, very fresh in your wrestling career? So that was what, 1 year in, 2 years in?
Probably about a year.
So winning a major championship a year into your career, how was that for you?
Head swelling.
In a good way or a bad way?
A great way, because I was wrestling guys like Doug Pitt and BTY, and if I went in there and looked timid or didn't look like I was supposed to be in that spot, I'd probably make them look bad and me look bad. But to hold my own to a point where BTY comes back and says something in the locker room like, I'll put Cali Man over any day, or Cali Kid at that time, because he took care of me out there. Because Colby Doy did fly through the ring and chip his tooth on the side of the ring. He hit the metal, or as I call it, got what he deserved. And y'all put me over. I gotta give him that one. Good old Colby. Good old Concussion Colby.
Concussion Colby. Is that his new gimmick? Concussion Colby?
That's the legit gimmick for real.
So
he's afraid, it's half concussion and half he's afraid that he's gonna get some more from the Cali Man. More of those teeth are gonna be.
He's actually in chat right now, and he's talking about the HBK tights that you wore underneath your Cali pants. What do you want to say about that?
My dad, knowing I was such a Shawn Michaels fan throughout the 90s, got me the tights made for a Christmas gift before I was even a wrestler. This is like when I was 12, 13 years old. So they're a little bit smaller, but they're tights, they'll stretch. So as I got into backyard wrestling, I emulated Shawn Michaels with the tights on. And when I turned pro, I almost felt like it was a good luck charm. Like Shawn was such a performer, I was hoping just maybe a little bit would rub off with the luck.
It didn't work.
So I'd wear them.
Okay.
Again, I had. Oh yeah, come on. I had at least the takedown.
And you even used the super kick as your finishing maneuver, right?
Yeah, I call it the more super than your super kick. Because mine's a finish. Mine's not this little false finish gimmick here. When I put you with one, you're done for.
So it's like the sweet chin music then, and instead of just a super kick.
A little better, but I mean it's not.
It's better than okay.
That was the 90s. I brought it all the way up to the 2020s. So you got to keep that in mind. I still go, unlike Colby Godwin, unlike Joe Milo and all these other guys you got.
You are the most active guest on the show so far.
I'm holding titles right now. 3 in the Gulf. 3
championships right now. How? And you're 86, so you're 34. Math hard. How do you keep going at 34 years old like you're going?
Well, I chalk some of it up to natural God-given ability. And then I would probably chalk the rest up to my mustache. It gives me my power.
The other 3. What about COVID-19? So COVID-19's, probably affected your bookings pretty hard, right? Kind of talk about what, as an independent wrestler, what you've went through due to COVID-19.
I love it. I've been the champion for a year now in 3 different places.
I haven't had to defend a single championship.
I tell them names I defend them against when they send me the contracts, and they say you're not suspended for 30 days. So there you go. I'm still a champion.
So what is that going to do to you when it comes time to getting back in the ring, though? How much ring rust are you actually going to have?
I actually feel like I've been probably more active than most wrestlers who have been on COVID-19. I still do. I wrestled 2 times last month, probably 3 times a month before that. I got 2 bookings this month. So, I mean, I'm not doing terrible active wise. I try to, I fish for anything I can at this point. Cali Man handshaking a hot dog, and the Cali Man's going to be at your building.
So let's see. Favorite CSW moment then, besides winning the championship. You were part of that promotion for many, many years. I remember the Fist. I remember another stable you were part of in CSW. So just kind of go through all of your CSW memories you have.
All right, I'll at least give you a good top 3 out of them. Number 1 was actually when I first did a promo with me and Dynamite Doug, and we were just there, like fresh faces, and I talked about how I will rule CSW with an iron fist, and I got such good crack up out of the front row fanatics that I pretty much ran with that gimmick, which led to the fist formation, which I loved every minute of that. Why they would hand a group called the Fist to me, like knowing and like how bad it could turn out.
Right.
It was the
I mean, there was plenty of puns that went around due to the fist and you guys fisting everybody in CSW.
Yeah.
What's another moment?
Oh, that was so much fun. Me and Suicide, that was the first time I got to work a few different guys that were really talented, like Suicidal Soldier. Me and him had a few good matches on there, and like just his amazement of his athleticism. Even though he's turned in kind of a loser now, back then he could jump and flip and stuff. It was great.
He was on the show in week 2 when we were discussing about how in Culture Shock Wrestling we've always been limited to that small ceiling, and the fact that he was still being able to flip around in Mossy Head, Florida is insane.
He dove from, no joke, he told me like he was going to do a little dive there and get outside the ring and get to the second row of the audience. And I was like, oh man, like I underestimated him. I sit on the first row and he overshot me. So don't underestimate Suicide Soldier from 12 years ago.
What else?
I wrestled Lucha LaCour there when he first started coming into the area, and nobody really knew him. So I was the first guy he got into a legit feud with when I stole his mask and claimed that I was the best Mexican wrestler alive as El Nino Caliente.
Okay.
And I was trained by Mil Mascaras and and all these guys from El Santos. These are my roots and stuff. And like really trying to offend to really give him like a reason. So we had a Mexican strap match out there where everybody got belts and got to give him my lickings. That was super fun. I got to do barbed wire matches over there, which I'm not the hugest fan of, but I took the opportunity to make it, as much as possible without actually getting tangled in the barbed wire as much as possible.
Sure.
So it was a lot of.
I mean, it was always been like you to like do as less as possible.
But make it work.
Yeah, so
also
Michael 360 in the chat said something about was it you that was in a tag team called the Seamen?
That was I don't think I'm allowed to talk about that.
Okay.
No,
all right.
No. Hear me out. So we don't get confused. Chuck Diamond.
Right.
He was the Seaman. Chuck. I'm the Cali Man at that point, so I'm the Seaman.
Okay.
But together, if we couldn't be the Seamans.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
See, letter C, men. Nothing else. We made one poster, and then they said, "Hey," all the promoters came together, and they're like, "Hey, this has to stop," and then we stopped.
Well, I don't necessarily blame them, but at the same time, I think the marketing was there. A lot of T-shirts probably could have been sold.
Yeah. But I'm allowed to be the Fist, though. I'm allowed to fist guys. I'm not allowed to be the Seaman, that's for sure.
So, and that was 2 moments of New Heights. What's your third moment?
I was about to say, when I think, not New Heights, CSW,
but
CSW. You're the host. Correct you. Anyway, when you think Mossy Head, you think Mossy Head, the building in Mossy Head, CSW. But if you remember right, we actually ran the Den, the bar in Panama City.
And we had a triple threat match, triple threat ladder match.
Me, you, and Soldier had that triple threat match, and I remember the biggest spot that I was like, thank God I had to lay there. That's because the show could go well. I remember Soldier got up in the actual rafters of the building, and we're talking like probably 12 feet up. And not gimmick 12 feet up. We're talking about probably legit 12 feet up.
Legit 12 feet up.
He was going to go for 450 splash. For those of you who don't know, that's 450 degrees around on your stomach. And
So
Chris
wait,
Tighe here.
360 would be what, to your feet?
Yes.
Okay, because you said you weren't good at math, so now you're giving math lessons. I just want to make sure that I'm clear.
I'm just good at degrees because that's the kind of deodorant I use.
Oh.
Anyway, so when he flipped around, we had you had the cutter for him while he splashed me.
Yep.
And I remember that was just I couldn't believe we pulled it off, kind of mind-blowing spot. And I was so blown away that it kind of took away from the horrible landing. Because he hit me with pure knees on the land.
Yeah, and the timing on that was extremely hard, and I barely caught enough of the cutter. But it's like, how do you... Though. Yeah, if wrestling is so fake, how do you practice that?
You don't. That was just a hope in the
He's climbing 12 feet in the air. He's going to do a full front flip and then over-rotate to his stomach, and I'm going to catch him on the way down. And we're supposed to practice that? Wrestling's fake, huh? We're going to practice that.
Thank God I just had to lay down, like I said. That was my big moment in this one. Cali Man, lay right here. You got it.
So let's talk about New Heights Wrestling for a moment. I believe you're tag team champion over there currently, correct?
Yep, and that's actually almost over 2 years now. Me and T-Bird of the Heartbreakers have been the tag team champion.
T-Bird, what a guy T-Bird is too. I know he's been jealous. He hasn't been asked to be on the show yet. We'll see if we can get him on a future show. So when did you get your New Heights Wrestling start?
I was at the first show over there in Florida. I did a double shot between that and Mosshead, Florida. But I was in the last match that night. I think it was a King of the Mountain ladder match with Colby Godwin and Chris Corbin, if you remember him, and a few guys like that. And I was Mr. Personality. And I got to start there doing that. And we just had basically a big 8-man kind of cluster ladder match. But it turned out good. I took a death driver from Colby off the middle rope. That was my big bump for the night. That
turned out good, huh?
I liked it, yeah. And I can't even remember, honestly, who won that match. I know they got a title shot or something in the future. I'm pretty sure it was Colby, knowing that. When's Colby going to put somebody over in New Heights Wrestling?
Jeez. Colby's going to message me and be like, hey, I need to come back on the show just so I can talk about everything that Cali Kid has already talked about. Probably should have had you on last week and Colby on this week. That was bad booking on my part.
His little message. That's his voice. He can message board it up, just like the old days.
So what other favorite moments in New Heights Wrestling have you had?
Well, once again, immediately once I turned into the California Kid, more opportunities came my way. And I remember when I first got my Ric Flair robe made, it was a black and silver one with the feathers. You might remember it from back then.
I do.
We did like maybe a 5 or 6 way cruiserweight open something. I know you were in it. I was in it. I'm pretty sure, the normal crew of cruiserweights from that time.
Joe Milo, Scotty, Billy.
Exactly.
And I think maybe Shane was probably the 6th man.
I think there was an oddball in there somewhere, but it was a good match. I just remember I got to steal the cruiserweight title pretty much from everybody. And that showed me that Waylon was believing in the California Kid gimmick too. So that was a good moment for me, just to get that assurance that my gimmick's getting over. And not too long after that, I formed Californication and won my first tag team titles, which was kind of like the Freebird rule between the 4 of us. Chris Corbin, Chuck Diamond, Dynamite Doug, me, California Kid. And
so I believe you were the Cruiserweight champ over there as well, correct?
Yeah, that's one. Yeah, I won the title in that match, and that kind of launched my solo thing until I won the tag titles. And then, of course, I was getting so much heat in that group that I finally got my heavyweight championship reign, which that was my first, I guess you could say, like, really meant something to me, heavyweight championship, like, because New Heights was pretty established by that point. I had some good champions by that point. And then, like, here's this California Kid, and I started going over on a lot of people dirty. So it was pretty nice.
All right, so just to take a break, we'll come back to New Heights, but we have Hybrid Pro and AIWF. It looks like maybe a joint show. Kind of just explain what this is. It's I believe it's you and Cameron Thomas that's about to wrestle right now, if I did my homework correctly.
One-on-one, or are we tagging? Because we tagged over there a few times too.
We'll find out in just a minute. But kind of talk about the promotions to start off with.
Hybrid Pro is I'm currently the heavyweight champion there. It actually just started a few years back with Street Bandit, a really talented guy. Been around a long, long time, longer than me, of course. But he really gives guys a chance who who can work, and that's why it's hybrid pro. You guys kind of started the hybrid thing, with your whole group of guys that are washed up now. But when they were there, let me tell you, nobody's taking the show further than these guys. This hybrid crew.
Okay, then, so I'm gonna shoot right here, and Street Bandit's gonna be on the show here in a few weeks, but or maybe not Street Bandit, maybe the promoter of Hybrid Pro. But he was actually telling me that the name of Hybrid Pro actually came from Team Hybrid, and so there you go. Even if you think we're washed up, we're still influencing the Gulf Coast more than you ever have.
I'm the hybrid champ now, bud. Just keep that in mind. Top hybrid right here, looking at him in the face.
Yeah, however, but you're not really. I mean, you might hold the championship, but that doesn't mean that's who you are, right?
I retired Cameron Frost. He's Gonski. You know what I'm saying? He never could beat me. He finally beat me once to end his career, and then he called it quits. I concussioned up Colt McGowan when he's done. Toast. Make it. I mean, come on. Who are we talking about? He turned Joe into a dad. He's the total.
Wait. What? You might want to rethink about how you just said that.
I mean every word that I say.
Okay.
And Joe knows why. I pushed Joe out of here. You moved away.
Yep, I ran scared. That's exactly what happened. Is you were coming up, and I was like, you know what? I can't handle the Cali Kid. That was before you were even the Cali Man. I definitely now probably can't do anything, right?
Yeah, you can only imagine now what I'm capable of pulling off.
So how did the Cali Man become a man instead of just a kid? And when did that happen?
When I turned 30 years old.
Okay, so 4 years ago, you made the transition to a man.
Well, I just woke up one day and the maturity kicked in, and I've been I'm engaged now to my beautiful fiance, and let's just say that I became a man in every aspect of life. I became more of a man, probably more of a man than any man that's ever manned. To be honest with you.
And so how did that change you in the ring?
I just more I do even less, if you can imagine that. I get a lot more out of it. Like 80% of my thing is dancing now with my hips, and it invokes a reaction from the crowd to where the point where why jump off the top rope now?
So how long do you think you'll be wrestling?
I'm hoping to at least go until I'm about 90.
Okay. So when will you make the transition to the California old man?
No, actually, here's the plan. And I'm going to give you the inside scoop because you're Chris Tighe.
Okay.
And you're this guy like that. All right. When I hit about 40, 45, I'm going to hit a midlife crisis type Cali Man and start calling myself like super young Cali Kid and pretend like I'm like the youngest spry kind of guy out there. And I think, really over bedazzle myself, kind of like Apollo in Rocky IV.
Do you think you'll finally cut your hair and shave off your mustache at that point?
Number one, I would cut my hair before I shave my mustache, that's for sure. But neither one's probably going anywhere. I'm just going to age gracefully with it. I don't dye my hair. I don't hide my gray showing up because that's maturity. I'm the most mature wrestler probably going, and I'm just going to continue that until I finally snap and realize that maybe I'm getting a little too old, and then I'm just going to act super young is going to be my whole thing. Like try to hang out with the cool kids and wear my hat backwards and go skateboarding and stuff like that.
They don't really skateboard anymore, right?
What?
So you're wrestling Cameron Thomas here. Tell me about Cameron Thomas. What's your opinion on him as a performer? He's been around for just about as long as you have, if not longer.
Yeah, actually, I seen him walk in for the first time to wrestle in Stetson's. You remember Stetson's?
Oh, yes. The big old cowboy bar that we used to wrestle in every now and then.
Yeah. Who would get over more than Chris Tighe and the Cali Man at a cowboy bar?
Yeah. Super over.
Yeah, super over. But he actually walked in, young kid. I think he was 17, 18 at the time. I was still Mr. Personality. And we met. And, throughout the years, we've almost ran parallels to each other in some aspects. Like, we've ended up right here at Hybrid together. And as a performer, I would say, I wish he wouldn't get so frustrated with himself. I think that affects his performance sometime. he's great though. If he just realize how great he is and how he has the look and how he has the charisma, and just realize that, like, hey, you have all this, you just need to be okay with it.
Yeah, I think he's been his own worst enemy his entire career to really shoot. To really like give my honest opinion on it. There's been a few times where he just like kind of gave up on what he was doing, and everything was starting to click. But this last run that he's been doing, everything I've been watching him from this last run has been extremely solid, and it's like everything is fully there now, and it's just a shame because this could have been him, 5, even 10 years ago.
Yeah, he was always super athletic, so that could have been him the whole time. But now he's starting to grasp what he's really good at, and he holds on to that, very tight. And I think he'd be great as a heel or a face, but of course he prefers to work heel. I think we're actually heel on heel in this match here. It's a champion versus champion match. He's the Hybrid Pro National Champ. I'm the Hybrid Pro Heavyweight Champ. So, but heel versus heel was always a hard dynamic. But let's face the facts: they wanted Cameron Thomas to whip me because I'm the Cali Man, and they're not.
So where is this match taking place at? I know it's Hybrid Pro. Why is the AIWF logo on there, first of all? And second of all, what state, what venue, things like that?
Daleville, Alabama at the VWF, I believe, right there in Daleville off of Highway 84. And this is when I think this might have been the second or third show. Like, we just established ourselves as champions, but we started drawing a little more each show, and that's I guess that's the one bad thing about COVID is Daleville was really starting to come up with on the backs of Cameron Thomas and me, and we started bringing Soldier and like some good tag teams from Georgia and stuff like that. And it was really starting to step up, and then kind of all got shut down because Alabama is, of course, the worst state when it comes to wrestling during COVID-19.
Alabama and Louisiana, any state really that has a commission that they've put pro wrestling under.
In charge of wrestling in Alabama, the Cali Man. Vote for me.
Cali Man for Alabama Wrestling Commissioner.
Cali Commish.
Cali Commish. Let's talk about the Cali Commish, actually. You ran that gimmick kind of in numerous places. What's some of your favorite moments as the Cali Commish?
Well, let's start with the reason I turned into the Cali Commish. I was doing a studio show for New Heights when Norm, Kaiser, and a few guys were filming more stuff and trying to be more we were on like national TV locally and stuff. And no fans there. I went to take a senton from Big Waylon Barley, big old dude. In case you don't know him, he's 6'8", probably 6'9", over 300 pounds at that point. And he's a monster. And he goes to give us a senton, but he's going to do it to two people at once. I got my Nathan Phoenix right next to me, and then there's me. And he overshoots Nathan Phoenix, and I see something bad coming towards me, like me. It overshadows me. And I should have been smart and stayed flat. As you know, that's what we were taught. And like brace your arms up, But I always tried to do this like big thing when bigger guys hit me, where I like roll them off me, and I turn my shoulder and I roll them off me as they hit me, trying to get their weight off me. And I rolled just a little too soon. And when I rolled, he actually snapped my collarbone because I turned my body one way, his weight pushed my body the other way, and you heard it just crunch in my right collarbone there. Got a nice big chunk of it missing. And because I was out for probably 6 months, I had to come up with something to keep me active because I wasn't going to be the guy just sitting there healing and everybody forgetting about me. So I tried to phone up and Facebook message anybody I could and be like, hey, maybe I could be the Cali Commish. And like CSW bought into it, and that started me actually at XWX down there with Daniel Greco.
Okay. So who all are you actively wrestling for these days?
Oh, quite a few different places that are still running. Of course, I'm still Hybrid Pro Champion, even though they're not running. New Heights Wrestling Tag Team Champion. I'm wrestling for JT Angel over there at Impact Pro, which runs in Valparaiso, Florida. I'm I think it's called the Fusion Champion there. So that's my 3 titles I got. But I still wrestle up in Georgia with Preston Beston for the SWA. I did the Jackie's Cancer Show, of course, once a year, which is probably the biggest show we have around. It's kind of like the new WrestleMania of the Gulf Coast since Heath didn't run anymore, which that was an accomplishment too, getting on those. I remember cause I wasn't on those for like the first 4 or 5 years that I worked. Now here I see, guys like you and all these other guys are working this great show. And I'm like, when's the Cali Man going to get a turn, right?
Yeah. Well, the Cali Kid.
Yeah, my bad. Excuse me.
So we'll actually have Heath Childs on the show next week. So maybe we'll get some insight on if there's ever going to be another WrestleMania of the Gulf Coast. But since you want to talk about the Gulf Coast, I noticed some flyers going around on Facebook for Battle in the Gulf Coast. Of course, we talked about Battle of the Gulf Coast last week. So let's talk about what?
It's not a ripoff, we swear.
So what makes Battle in the Gulf Coast so much different than Battle of the Gulf Coast?
If you remember right, Battle of the Gulf Coast, a great show hosted by New Heights Wrestling, where I'm tag team champion, was coming together a tournament, coming together of multiple states, multiple guys from different areas who would come together and prove whose promotion or which area was the best. And this is not that. This is all the champions, or many of the champions of the AIWF promotions from the Gulf Coast, coming to show off each I don't think there's going to be too many champion versus champion matches. I'm not sure of the whole setup, but I know that every champion will be represented. For example, I'll be the Hybrid Pro champ there, representing the Hybrid Pro, and Cameron Thomas, as we mentioned earlier, right here on the screen there. He'll actually be representing as the national champion from Hybrid. And we'll have a few guys like the New Wave tag team champions. They're up in Dothan, Alabama.
So it's more of a AIWF sanctioned show than
yeah,
than just like multiple promotions.
Yeah, exactly. So, but of course, if you want to draw the big bucks, though, you advertise the Hybrid Pro champion, the Cali Man, which they did smartly.
Yeah. Okay. So, who in the Gulf Coast have you not got to wrestle, and you're still waiting for that matchup?
I don't know. I've wrestled just about everybody, haven't I? Let me try to think about that one for a second. Like, if I could put together any dream scenario match from the Gulf Coast,
sure.
I would love for one day for all these, your crew actually, the Hybrid guys, because I talk trash about that's like my main guys that I for sure shoot on about being old and washed up. And I would love for like a reformation of my Californication group, whether it be the original members or just the ones that we pieced together, like me, Bird, Chuck, two guys like that, and we take on the old generation versus the new generation, like a 5-on-5 Survivor Series match with Colby Godwin, Chris Tighe, the Reyes brothers, and Cameron Frost, taking on the Cali Man, T-Bird, Chuck Diamond, and a few other guys I'll toss in there because I don't need them anyway.
Man, that I'm talking about would draw money.
In a shut my mouth after all these years match.
So what if you just ran the gauntlet then?
That's cool with me too. I got the
We'll call it the Hybrid Gauntlet, and Hybrid Pro can book it, and you just see if you can make it past even one of us. You can even set up the order of appearance too.
Oh yeah. Well, we go from easiest to hardest, I think, for sure. So I put the Reyes in there together at the beginning because I can mop both floors with those
2 on 1, huh?
Yeah, I hit them on the top of the head, one time.
Okay.
Where else can you hit them when they're that short? Cameron Frost. I've already beat that guy so many times. That's an easy one. We can stick him right in the middle there like a sandwich. Now you are the definition of technician.
You're not wrong.
So even if you're
these days, I'm the definition of Twitch, but yeah. I still study. Even
if you're a little rusty, you're technical, and technical is tough to beat. So I'd have to put you as the semi-main guy in that gauntlet. And of course, you finish with BTY Haas Bryant, because more than likely he's going to get dizzy on the way to the ring or whatever. I'll just be able to roll him up. Bada bing, bada boom. Still your Hybrid Pro champion, the Cali Man.
We got about 5 minutes remaining. What else do you want to talk about, man? What do you got coming up? What do you?
Let's talk about the chances of Chris Tighe ever getting in there again. How about that? Let's talk there.
Honestly, you never say never, and I have never officially said I'm retired. I've talked to since starting the tie-up back up. A couple promoters have reached out to me. I will answer my phone. Tell me my price, and we'll talk.
I hear you.
It's not. I'm not the Cali Kid. All right. Look, this setup is not cheap. All right. You're sitting there with Walmart curtains behind you and some Kmart blinds. I'm sitting on a multi-million-dollar setup. All right. So if you want me to come wrestle for your promotion, you're gonna have to pay me.
This is the summer house. Can I pay you in respect?
What else, man? What do you
Everybody
get
just
coming
come
up?
out. The Battle of the Coast, of course, like we talked about. I don't know if it's in or on, so I don't want to say that word, so I'm just going to call it Battle of the Coast. And we're going to, great show in Wausau, Florida. And I suggest anybody who can live locally within, an hour, go support indie wrestling. Right now, it needs it more than ever, for sure.
Yes.
And actually, there's a little rumor going around that Hybridite actually moved to in my neck of the woods in Florida.
Oh.
Because they can't Alabama right now. So if we can get that up and running, I'd be, that's going to be a full-time gimmick for me too. And there's me looking beautiful with my heavyweight championship, as you see, doing my little dance. What do you think of my new tights, Chris Tighe? Do you like those new tights there?
I only saw a split second, but they kind of pink and green and some
checkerboard, kind of with the frills and stuff.
the
You know
frills.
what I mean?
Very macho manish. I'm digging it.
I dusted something else off that we didn't talk about, but I wanted to show everybody this real quick. I know you probably can't see it too well.
No, I would love for you to talk about that. Actually, we have a few more minutes, so talk about the Harley Race training camp that we.
And man, that was a long time ago, but that was so great. Only a few guys from the Gulf Coast went up there. Me and you being a few of the two, and Joe, of course, Waylon.
Yeah, man. When Joe was on a couple of weeks ago, we talked about bonsai.
Yes. You see Bonsai?
Yeah. All right. So that's Bonsai, and if you guys know Waylon Barley, he's huge, and Bonsai was very small, so that's why it was so scary. But man, he could have had a better name for that moment, right?
Yeah, and going back and looking at it now, it's a little crazy because I see guys like Brutal Bob Evans, who's now the head trainer of Ring of Honor.
Bobby Fish was there. He's over in NXT. And
of course, Marufuji. You're just like sitting in a picture of Marufuji and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and trying to look cool.
Yeah,
I don't know if you remember your face in it. I can't. Hopefully, you can see it a little better. There's the cheese ball grin of Chris Tighe.
Yep. That was a top moment of my life, man. Especially as far as like wrestling career, that was up there.
As you know, Cali Man is not the best when it comes to keeping up with stuff. So the fact that I've kept up with this picture in this good a condition for long should know and tell you how much it meant to me too.
So
that was like our.
What you're saying is all of these promotions are going to get their championships back, and like they're just going to be falling apart.
Here's the thing: if you put the Cali Man, here's the thing. A lot of people underestimated me, as you know, especially when I first came in. I was this joke, Mr. Personality. But let's face the facts: you've been in the business long enough to know that in order for a promoter to give you a championship, it's not just like here you go accolade. A lot of those guys are like, this is the guy that we know can go out there and deliver with whoever we need him to as a champion. And like sometimes champions are requested to go longer, so you got to have maybe your cardio game in check. And I feel like it's a real it might not be the realest thing to some people, but I feel like it's a real responsibility as a champion to perform like that champion. And right now, at 34 years old, I still feel like I'm performing like a champion every single time I go out there. I give it my all, and me, I'm gonna bump, I'm gonna sell around crazy, no matter what people do to me.
So, and I'm gonna, to be honest with you, that's my biggest fear. Going back for another match is there is no cardio workout like being in the ring. Like if you haven't been in the ring in a few months, when you get back in the ring, it's like, oh man, I haven't been in the ring in a few years. And I'm just like, there's just not going to be any way for me to kind of get my cardio up and ready to actually do another match. I have to find a ring and train.
But you had that core, too. You got to remember that. You had a lot of years of that reaching down deep enough to have it. And some guys who don't go into the business like they're football players and they just decide to become a wrestler, they don't have that. So you might actually still be an advantage to them. It's not like you're starting out fresh. Your body can get reused to it a lot quicker than, like, let's say somebody was just starting out at the original. So I think you could, you give yourself 6 months. I bet you'd be in ring shape. At least you have to pull it off with the Cali Man, because I'll do everything. What do you need to do in that, man? Just drop me on my head a few times, hit me with a few forearms.
Some brain busters, some frog splashes. It's fine. Yeah. So let's talk. We got a couple more minutes. Let's talk about the first time you ever met the definition of technician, Chris Tighe. What was like? So you said you saw me in GAWF first, right? So what was your impression when you actually saw me wrestling? First of all, as a fan, like you weren't even in the business yet.
No, and I thought, I remember distinctly your match being a lot more technically proficient than most of the stuff I was seeing. A lot of the stuff I was seeing was like over the top 80s type stuff, I guess is what you could say for most people, like way more character, everything like that.
Sure.
I just remember you were more like chain wrestling, high impact drop kicks, stuff like, because it was a ceiling issue, of course, at GAWF for a while too. So it wasn't like high flying Chris Tighe, that's for sure, but like a lot more heavy drop kicks. And like, that was the first time I seen anybody wrestle in a Japanese style, because I didn't know, I wasn't in the tape trading or why. I was a WWF guy. That was wrestling to me. So to see something like that, and then when I actually met you, of course, what everybody thought at first, which is like, oh, this guy's kind of a jerk. I slowly started to realize, like,
I just want to make sure that everybody at home like realizes, like, that's just who I am.
Like, this guy's a jerk, but at the same time, it's like you turn from like jerk for no reason into like, oh, I think he's being a jerk to me for this reason. And I realized, oh, he's just, he's being a jerk to me to make me work harder.
Right.
He's not trying to be a jerk and hit me hard, but like, I remember one time you went to punch me in the stomach, and I instinctively got scared because I knew you hit hard, and I jumped back, and it completely like whiff, right? And you me, and you're like, "What are you doing?" Just like, and I just put my head down. I was like, "I'm sorry, man." It was so sad for me, though.
Was there a receipt after that?
I caught you for receipts, buddy. But I started, I became accustomed to it, and I started working guys who worked the same, like Cameron Frost, who would kick you in the back so hard that I would lose my breath, and Colby Godwin, who would nail you with a clothesline. And once I started my body became more accustomed to like what I needed to do to get on your guys' level, I tried to become more apt to that kind of stuff and more willing to, definitely take an ass whipping so that I could get over with the boys and earn the respect of guys like you. And look at me now. Now I'm the hybrid champion. I'm the best hybrid we're going right now out of all of us.
And out of our generation, yeah, you might have. There's not many people that's been wrestling as long as you. You're now the veteran, and at 30 years old, it's weird in independent wrestling that that's what's considered a veteran, because people just don't last long, especially in the Gulf Coast. Why is that?
And a lot of guys don't do what I did, which you got to remember. I went to Harley Race with you guys. I did the Dudley Boys tryout down south. I did Dr. Tom seminars. And I've been doing this all the way up until, literally probably a couple years back when I did the Gallows seminar up there in Georgia. I always try to expand my knowledge, even though I'm beyond the point of maybe making it somewhere big. I don't look at it like that anymore. Now I just look at leaving my legacy in the independent scene, if that's where it's going to be. And I promise you, I'm going to wrestle for as long as my body allows me to wrestle, which hopefully, in my opinion, be a good another 20, 30 years is the way I feel now.
All right. So Michael 360 has said numerous times that you have not defended the Hybrid Pro Championship. So when is the next Hybrid Pro Championship matchup?
Michael is a liar. I can tell you that right now. I know which kid that is. Liar. And number two, where's parents at? But anyway, he's a liar. I defended my title last week against Ted Jerks. Ted Jerks over there in Flawalo, Georgia.
All right.
Pinned him. Yep.
Then anything in closing you want to add? Where can people follow you and see where you're winning all of these matches at?
Well, I'm on Facebook as Chris Harmeyer, of course, my real name, a shoot name there. Harm is actually my shoot name, even though I didn't use it in wrestling. And I'm on there. I'm on Facebook. That's where you can get a hold of me a lot. I don't do much of the Snapbook or the Instant Chat. I'm not technically savvy. I don't join chat rooms a lot. Yeah, there I am. See? What a handsome fella from 10 years ago.
All right, so I just threw your Facebook into chat for everybody.
Yeah, that little match right there you can see on the screen, that was actually one of my last matches with Bullet Bob from about 4 years ago. Rest in peace, sir. You want
to talk about Bullet Bob real quick while you have a second? What he meant to you on the Gulf Coast?
I got to work with him as a tag partner. Me and him fought Dr. Tom Pritchard and Waylon Barley at the WrestleMania of the Gulf Coast. Probably one of my personal highlights, of course, as far as like the hire on the card I got to work Dr. Tom and be with Bullet Bob as a partner. And then I got to tag against Bullet Bob at Assault for Autism which was great because now I got to feel both sides of the spectrum. I got to get chopped with his little missing finger and stuff like that I'd always heard about. And man, he was always such a stand-up guy. And once he learned my name was when it's kind of like, oh man.
Right.
He'd be like, hey, how you doing? You know, it's just kind of like, oh, Bull Bob knows me. You know what I mean? I guess if a Hall of Famer knows me, I did make it after all. And I mean, there's no amount of words that I don't think anybody could state for what he meant to the Gulf Coast scene, for all the boys and for anybody who's ever been involved.
I think one of my favorite moments, it was actually, I believe it was him, and he was tagging with Steve on a show. And Steve Armstrong, one of his sons, if you're watching and you're not sure who Steve is, but he was like, he was taking a nap and like across chairs in the locker room, and Steve's like, hey, our music's playing, we gotta go. And he like pops up, throws on his hood, Steve ties him up real quick, and he just goes out the entranceway just dancing, shaking the knees like only Bullet Bob can. And I'm like, he literally just woke up. Like, he didn't need a second, like, well, what do I got to do? He's just, like, out there dancing, and it was so cool to see. Man, what a true legend, and what a stand-up guy, like you said.
Quick Bull Bob story. We were at the WrestleMania for the Gulf Coast, and my fiance, who was my girlfriend at the time, not much into the wrestling, you know, did not know who anybody was. I remember Anna. You've met her at Joe's wedding and whatnot.
Yep.
Yeah. She, like, here comes a guy with a cigarette, an older man. She's, you know, asked her to light the cigarette because she smokes cigarettes, and she, you know, she lights a cigarette, and here, like, I am, and all these people are aghast, like, that she has no idea. And we're like, do you realize whose cigarette you just lit? That was Bob Armstrong. And she's like, who? And we're like, Bullet Bob Armstrong, the Hall of Famer or whatever. And it was just like, it was such a kick because, like, if I was a kid and I got into, like, and he came up to me like that, like, I would have flipped out. But here's this other, you know, person who's not involved.
No clue. No clue who it is.
That you lit his cigarette, and she, like I said, she got a kick out of that ever since.
Here you are wrestling BTY Zane Stevens, I believe he goes now by.
FBTY, fake BTY, Zane Stevens.
Fake FBTY, okay. So yeah, Ghost is super kick.
Oh, what we got here? Oh, I just got blasted. It looked like, oh no.
Yep.
He just
shut off the ropes. Big axe handle. And another one.
Maybe I should stop getting up and running into him. It doesn't seem to be working out great.
Yeah. This looks like XWX. Oh. Where's this ran at?
That was actually Mariana at the little, not a civic center, but the like farm little building they had there, the Ag Center. That's what it is. Excuse me. Which I got to wrestle Zane Stevens and Adam Rose, the party guy with the lollipop. I got to wrestle them there.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for being on the tie-up tonight. It was a good conversation, and maybe we can get both you and Colby Godwin on a show in the future. Maybe
you can handle
it. We'll just go back and forth. We'll see what both of you have to say to each other.
All
right,
my words.
Thanks again. I want to thank Table of Content again for the raid. Cali Kid can be caught in action. I already linked his Facebook. But he's going to be defending those 3 championships, and who knows? Maybe you'll see a Tighe versus Cali Kid again in the future. We'll be live again tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you next week as well on the tie-up, 9 p.m. Eastern for Heath Childs. Thanks so much for hanging out, and we'll see you then.